Have you ever looked at a scandal involving a politician, business executive, religious leader, or even someone close to you, and quietly wondered, how could they do that? Perhaps even more unsettling is the second question. Why do ordinary people who are not monsters, slowly drift into unethical behavior? Well, history repeatedly shows us that unethical conduct is not limited to evil individuals. Many people commit unethical acts, oftentimes intelligent, caring, respectable, socially accepted, and even outwardly moral people. And that raises one of the most important questions in philosophy, psychology, leadership, ethics, and human nature. Why do good people like you and me act unethically? Well, in this video, we're going to explore that question and answer it. I do that not to condemn people, not to excuse wrongdoing, but to better understand for ourselves. Because the uncomfortable truth is this: under enough pressure, fear, temptation, anger, pride, and even rationalization, nearly all human beings possess the capacity for compromise of their morality. And understanding that reality may actually be one of the first steps toward wisdom. One of the oldest explanations for unethical behavior is simple self-interest, self-presentation, egoism. Human beings naturally seek survival, security, advantage, comfort, recognition, and success. We are hardwired to pursue those things. Philosophers have wrestled with this for thousands of years. Sometimes people compromise ethics because they believe doing will protect them financially, professionally, or emotionally. And what makes this dangerous is that unethical behavior rarely appears evil in the mind of the person committing it. Instead, people rationalize it. They say, I deserve this. I had no choice. Everyone else is doing it, and I'm just protecting myself. That ability to rationalize may be one of the most powerful forces behind ethical failures. Another major factor is what psychologists sometimes call the emotional hijack. Human beings are not purely rational creatures. Anger, jealousy, humiliation, fear, resentment, envy, panic, and desire can overpower judgment and intellect. When emotions intensify, the reflective part of the mind temporarily shuts down. People say things they later regret. I bet that's happened to you. I know it's happened to me. They betray values that they once believed in. They lash out, they deceive, they retaliate. In many cases, unethical behavior is not carefully planned evil. It is emotional loss of control. And in today's world, with constant outrage, political hostility, social media conflict, financial stress, and emotional exhaustion, emotional self-restraint has become more important than ever. Another powerful force is peer pressure and conformity. You see, human beings deeply desire acceptance. We want belonging, approval, inclusion. Psychological studies have repeatedly shown that ordinary people will often conform to group behavior, even when they know it is wrong. Why? Well, because social rejection is painful. We fear becoming isolated, excluded, criticized, professionally punished. And slowly, unethical cultures emerge. A company begins cutting corners. A political movement begins normalizing dishonesty. A social group rewards cruelty. A workplace punishes dissent. Over time, people stop asking, is this right? And they begin asking, what do I need to do to survive here? Power and arrogance also play a major role. History repeatedly demonstrates that success can distort moral judgment. Some individuals begin believing the rules don't apply to me. Power can create entitlement, hubris, moral blindness. And ironically, people who view themselves as especially good or successful often become less ethically vigilant because they assume they could never become corrupted. But wisdom begins with humility. The moment a person believes they are incapable of ethical failure, they may already be moving toward it. Another important reality is that some individuals lack moral empathy or conscience altogether. Psychologists describe sociopathic or psychopathic personality structures as involving diminished compassion, manipulativeness, superficial charm, and lack of remorse. Thankfully, severe cases are relatively rare. But even ordinary people can display smaller forms of narcissism, callousness, or manipulative behavior under the right circumstances. Ignorance also contributes to unethical conduct. You see, some people simply lack ethical awareness. They may never have developed, reflected upon morality, consequences, compassion, or human dignity. Other people are shaped by dysfunctional environments where distorted values become normal. Ethical blindness can develop gradually in these situations. People become so focused on profit, ideology, competition, politics, or personal ambition that they stop seeing the moral dimension of actions altogether. And then there is one of the most dangerous rationalizations in all of human history. The ends justify the means. I bet you've heard that before. People convince themselves that unethical behavior is acceptable because they believe the outcome is important enough. We're doing this for a greater cause. I'm protecting my family. This temporary harm is necessary. And history is filled with atrocities committed by people convinced they were serving some higher purpose. And once human beings begin believing that noble goals excuse unethical methods, moral boundaries become dangerously unstable. Another common factor is the perception that a person is the victim of wrong. People often justify unethical conduct because they believe life has treated them unfairly. They feel cheated, overlooked, humiliated, oppressed, maybe underappreciated, and resentment becomes moral permission. If others cheat, why shouldn't I? If the system is unfair, why should I follow the rules? Victimhood narratives can become extremely powerful rationalizations for unethical behavior. And then there is secrecy. Human beings behave differently when they believe nobody will find out. Anonymity lowers inhibition. Small hidden compromises gradually become larger ones. And once unethical behavior remains undiscovered long enough, people often begin normalizing it internally. Weak consequences further reinforce this problem. When institutions fail to hold people accountable, when power shields misconduct, when dishonesty is rewarded, ethical erosion accelerates. Cultures eventually become corrupted when integrity no longer matters. But perhaps one of the deepest causes of unethical behavior is woundedness itself. Some people enter adulthood carrying profound emotional injuries, trauma, neglect, humiliation, abuse, abandonment, broken trust. These wounds can distort emotional regulation, empathy, identity, and moral development. This does not eliminate responsibility, but it does remind us that human beings are often far more psychologically complex than we realize. And perhaps that recognition should produce not only accountability, but also some compassion. Now, after examining all of these causes, we arrive at an important realization. Ethical failure rarely emerges from a single factor. Instead, it usually develops through a combination of fear, rationalization, pressure, emotion, ego, resentment, temptation, social conformity, and gradual compromise. And that's a lot. And that realization perhaps should humble some of us, if not all. Because the line between ethical and unethical behavior does not simply divide good people from bad. That line runs through every human heart. But there is hope in this discussion, because the same human beings capable of moral failure are also capable of great moral courage. People can cultivate self-awareness, humility, emotional restraint, wisdom, compassion, accountability, and integrity. And perhaps wisdom begins with another realization. We must never stop examining ourselves. Never stop questioning our motives. Never stop strengthening our character. And never assume we are beyond ethical failure. Because ethical integrity is not something we achieve once and permanently possess. It is something we must continually practice, protect, and nurture throughout our lives. If this presentation was meaningful to you, please like and subscribe to the channel. Share this video with others and visit LouieLarimer.com. Take a look at the book, The Psychology of Ethics. It presents a broader and a deeper understanding of how we think about ethics and integrity. Please join me again for my next video. We're going to look at the other side of the equation. How and why do some people act in extraordinary ways and resist unethical impulses? That's all for now, folks. Thanks for watching. See you soon.